A ceramic mug slips from my hand and shatters against the kitchen floor, not because it was heavy, but because my fingers won't stop trembling. The sound explodes through the silence of my small apartment, sharp and final, like something breaking that can't be put back together. I press my back against the counter, chest tight, struggling to pull air into lungs that feel compressed by invisible hands. My phone vibrates on the table. That sound, the same mechanical buzz that has haunted me for months, that still makes my entire body clench, even though I'm supposed to be free now. I flinch automatically, the motion so ingrained I don't even realize I'm doing it anymore. The screen lights up with a new message. We need to talk about your exit report. Before I continue, if stories like this resonate with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to Paws That Healed. And tell me in the comments if you've ever lived something similar. Your story matters here. The words drop like a punch to the stomach. My knees weaken. I grip the edge of the counter so hard my knuckles turn white, bones pressing against skin. The shards of the mug glitter at my feet like fragments of something I used to be, reflecting the overhead light in cruel, scattered pieces. Another vibration. A second message. I don't open it. Can't. My heartbeat climbs painfully up my throat, pounding against my jaw, filling my ears with static. I slide down to the floor, bare feet, careful to avoid the broken ceramic, chest locked tight, trying to breathe through the panic that hijacks my body every time anything, a notification, a sound, a certain tone of voice, reminds me of work. Then a sudden knock at the door, sharp, unexpected, too loud for this hour, too loud for my fragile state. The knock freezes me completely. I stare at the door with wide eyes, breath suspended somewhere between inhale and exhale, convinced with absolute certainty that the nightmare has followed me home. That somehow, despite everything, I'm not safe, even here. Another knock, softer this time, hesitant, almost apologetic. I'm still shaking, still barefoot among a broken ceramic, phone still buzzing on the table above me, when something moves in the sliver of space beneath the door. A shadow, small, shifting, then a low, soft whine. The sound slices through the panic in a way nothing else has been able to. A breath pauses. My heartbeat shifts from racing to something else, something I can't quite name. The moment holds there, suspended between fear and something unfamiliar, something I haven't felt in so long I almost don't recognize it. And that's when I realized, I wasn't alone out there. My name is Lauren Mitchell, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. 6 months ago, I would have told you I loved this city. I loved the skyline view from my morning commute, the way the sun caught the glass buildings downtown, the humid energy of southern summer evenings. I loved my career, believed in my work, thought I was building something that mattered. 6 months ago, I didn't know how quickly everything could unravel. It started small, the kind of small that's easy to dismiss, easy to rationalize. My supervisor, a woman who smiled in meetings and eviscerated you in private, began leaving comments on my reports that felt less like feedback and more like personal attacks. This is careless. Did you even try? I expected better from someone at your level. I tried harder, stayed later, rewrote everything twice, 3 times, searching for the standard that would satisfy her. But the standard kept moving, kept shape-shifting, just out of reach. Then came the messages. Late at night, weekends, 11 p.m. on a Sunday. We need to discuss your performance first thing Monday. No context, no specifics. Just dread, delivered digitally, designed to ruin whatever peace I might have found. The public humiliation came next. Meetings where she'd dissect my work in front of colleagues, voice dripping with disappointment, shaking her head as if my mere existence was exhausting to her. Coworkers stopped making eye contact, started excluding me from lunch plans, from coffee runs, from the small social threads that make work bearable. I became isolated, marked, the person everyone avoided for fear of being associated with failure. I told myself I could handle it, that I was strong, that this was just a rough patch, a difficult supervisor, something I could outlast or outwork. But the body keeps score when the mind tries to push through. Started waking up with tension headaches that felt like a vice grip around my skull. My stomach rebelled against food. Sleep became shallow and fractured, full of dreams where I was always late, always unprepared, always failing some test I hadn't known I was taking. I lost weight I didn't have to lose. My hands developed this tremor, subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. And still, I showed up. Day after day I walked into that building, smiled when required, endured the comments and the messages and the suffocating sense that I was drowning in plain sight while everyone pretended not to notice, until the day my body made the decision, my mind couldn't. I was in a meeting when it happened. My supervisor was mid-sentence, criticizing something I'd prepared, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. Not the shallow breathing of anxiety, this was different. Complete, terrifying inability to pull air into my lungs. My vision tunneled. My hands went numb. I stood up, mumbled something incoherent, and walked out, leaving my bag, my laptop, everything. I never went back. The resignation letter I sent 2 days later was brief, professional, empty of the truth I couldn't bring myself to write. I didn't tell anyone what had really happened. Not my parents, who would worry. Not my friends, who had their own struggles. I felt ashamed. Ashamed that I'd let it happen. Ashamed that I'd broken. Ashamed that I couldn't just be stronger. Now I live in this small apartment in Charlotte, in a city I used to love, barely leaving except for necessities. The dishes pile up. I eat irregularly, usually standing at the counter, food I don't taste. The blinds stay mostly closed. Calls go unanswered. I exist in a kind of suspended animation, knowing I escaped but unable to feel relief, unable to feel much of anything except this bone-deep exhaustion. People talk about fight or flight. Nobody talks about the collapse that comes after, when the adrenaline finally drains away and you're left with just yourself and the damage and no idea how to begin putting the pieces back together. That's where I was when the knock came. Sitting on my kitchen floor, surrounded by broken ceramic, phone buzzing with reminders of everything I was trying to forget, body still shaking from panic I couldn't control. That's where I was when Rusty found me. I approached the door slowly, each step deliberate, still barefoot, still shaking. My hand hovers over the doorknob for a long moment. Part of me is convinced that opening this door will somehow let the nightmare back in, that I'll find my former supervisor standing there with that smile that never reached her eyes. But the whine comes again, soft, desperate, unmistakably animal. I crack the door open a few inches and look down. A dog sits on my welcome mat, small and trembling, soaked through with rain I hadn't even noticed was falling. His fur is matted with mud, darker in some places where the grime has caked. He's shivering so hard I can see the vibration through his entire body, paws pressed together, tail tucked low. His eyes, deep brown, achingly expressive, look up at me with a mixture of fear and pleading that stops my breath. He doesn't move toward me, doesn't jump or bark or do any of the things I might expect. He just sits there, waiting, as if asking permission to exist in my space. I whisper, my voice rough from disuse. "Where did you come from?" He whines again, softer this time, and something in the sound resonates with a part of me I thought had gone numb. I look down the hallway, empty, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, distant sounds of other apartments living their lives behind closed doors. No one chasing him. No one calling for him. I should call animal control. I should close the door and go back to my broken routine. I could barely take care of myself. How could I possibly take care of anything else? But the dog nudges the door gently with his nose, then sits again, water dripping from his fur onto the mat, and waits. The hallway light flickers above us. Behind me, my kitchen is still littered with ceramic shards and unanswered messages. In front of me, this small, terrified creature asks for nothing except to not be alone. Our eyes meet and hold, his breathing's uneven, rapid, scared. Mine matches it almost exactly. We're both shaking, both at the edge of something, both waiting for permission to break or be saved. The connection forms in that stillness. Not dramatic, not sudden, just a quiet recognition that passes between two wounded things. My breathing slows first. Then his, the panic that had been climbing my throat for the past 20-minute shifts, doesn't disappear, but loosens its grip just enough for me to move. I kneel down, my hands still trembling, but steadier than they were moments ago. He watches me carefully, tracking every movement, body tense and ready to flee if needed. I extend one hand slowly, palm up, letting him choose. He presses his head against my knee. The touch breaks something open in my chest, not painful but overwhelming. When was the last time anything touched me with gentleness? When was it the last time I let it? Okay, I hear myself say. Okay, come inside. He stands immediately, as if he'd been waiting for exactly those words, and follows me into the apartment with careful steps. I close the door behind us, shutting out the hallway and the rain and whatever he was running from. I give him water in a mixing bowl. I don't have anything else. And he drinks frantically, desperately, water splashing onto the floor. I grab an old towel from the linen closet and wrap it around him, carefully avoiding the places where his fur is most tangled. He leans into the warmth, eyes closing briefly in what looks like relief. While I'm drying him, I check for a collar, a tag, anything that might tell me where he belongs. Nothing. His neck is bare, slightly matted, where a collar might have been once. He isn't lost. He's abandoned. The realization settles over me with strange weight. Someone had him. Someone decided they didn't want him anymore. Someone left him to the rain and the cold and the fear, and somehow he ended up here, at my door, at the exact moment I was falling apart on my kitchen floor. I carried the broken ceramic to the trash carefully, and he watches every movement, refusing to let me out of his sight. When I sit on the couch, he follows, climbing up beside me with cautious movements, as if checking that it's allowed. When I don't object, he curls against my side, head resting on my thigh, body still trembling slightly. His eyes stay on my face, searching, assessing, seeing something I'm not sure I want seen. "You need a name," I whisper into the quiet apartment. He's rust-colored where the mud washes away, all warm browns and copper tones. Rusty. Is that okay? His tail moves once, a small thump against the couch cushion. I rest my hand on his back, feeling his heartbeat gradually slow beneath my palm, and realize that for the first time in months, I'm not alone in this apartment. For the first time since I walked out of that meeting, unable to breathe, I have something to focus on besides my own unraveling. Rusty sighs deeply and presses closer, and I understand with sudden clarity that taking care of him will require me to start taking care of myself, that his presence here isn't just companionship, it's responsibility, purpose, a reason to get up tomorrow that isn't tangled up in shame or fear or the wreckage of who I used to be. The rain continues outside. My phone eventually stops buzzing, and Rusty stays warm and solid and real, anchoring me to something I'd almost forgotten existed, the simple fact of being alive, right here, right now, broken but breathing. Mornings in Charlotte become different with Rusty. The change isn't dramatic. There's no moment where everything suddenly makes sense. No movie scene breakthrough where the music swells and everything is fixed. Instead, it's small, incremental, the soft pressure of his presence pulling me back towards something resembling life. I wake up to him stretching beside me, his small body taking up a disproportionate amount of space on my bed, front paws extending, back arching in that full body stretch dogs do that seems to say the day is worth waking up for. The cheap apartment blinds filter morning light into golden strips across the comforter. And for the first time in months, I don't immediately reach for my phone to see what fresh hell awaits me, because Rusty needs to go outside. It's such a simple thing, such an ordinary responsibility. But it means I have to get up, have to get dressed, have to open the door and step into the world, even if it's just the small patch of grass behind my building. Those first walks are brief. Rusty does his business quickly, and I stand there in the humid Charlotte morning, still in yesterday's t-shirt and sweatpants, watching him sniff at leaves and grass with intense concentration. The air smells like honeysuckle and car exhaust. Traffic sounds drift from the main road. The world continues spinning, indifferent to the fact that I stepped away from it for months. But Rusty keeps walking, keeps pulling me forward gently, and I follow. He becomes my anchor in ways I don't fully understand at first. When anxiety spikes, when I hear a notification sound or remember something my supervisor said or spiral into the endless mental loop of what-ifs, Rusty places his paw on my hand. Just that, a small pressure. A reminder that I'm here in this moment and this moment is safe. When I dissociate, when my mind goes somewhere else to avoid feeling too much, he nudges me, gentle but persistent, brings me a shoe, a toy, once a leaf he found outside that he seemed particularly proud of. Small offerings, invitations back to presence. I start noticing things I'd stopped seeing. The way light moves across the apartment throughout the day, the sound of Rusty's breathing when we sit quietly together, the warmth of his fur when I bury my fingers in it, grounding myself in texture and temperature and the simple fact of his existence beside mine. We establish routines without deciding to coffee in the morning while Rusty eats his breakfast. A walk around the block, then 2 blocks, then 3. Afternoons on the small balcony where I read while he naps in the sun. Evenings on the couch, his weight a constant comfort against my side. I start cooking again. Small meals, nothing elaborate. But I realize that if I'm feeding Rusty, I should probably feed myself too. I cleaned the apartment bit by bit, not all at once, not with the manic energy of someone trying to fix themselves, but slowly. A counter here, a bathroom there, opening blinds, letting light back in. The letter from HR arrives on a Tuesday. I stand in my small kitchen, staring at the envelope with my name typed across the front, and my hands start to shake. Rusty pads over immediately, lays his head in my lap, and stays. Just stays. His weight, his warmth, his quiet insistence that I'm not alone in this. I open the letter, read the formal language about exit procedures and final paychecks and standard paperwork. My chest tightens, but Rusty is there, and somehow that makes it bearable. I sign what needs signing, seal the return envelope, and that small act of completion feels enormous. The nightmares still come. I wake up gasping, back in that meeting room, unable to breathe, unable to speak, unable to escape. But now, when I wake, Rusty is there. He nudges my hand with his nose, licks my fingers, presses his body against mine until my breathing slows and I remember where I am. Home, safe, far from that fluorescent lit conference room and the woman who made every day feel like survival. He teaches me in his patient, persistent way to stay present. When I start spiraling into the past or panicking about the future, he demands attention, needs a walk, drops a toy in my lap, stares at me with those brown eyes that seem to hold a wisdom I can't articulate but desperately need. I watch him on our walks, noticing the confident way he moves forward despite everything he's been through, abandoned, left in the rain, terrified and alone. And yet, he doesn't hesitate to explore, to greet the world with curiosity instead of fear. He flinches at sudden movements. Sometimes we share that, but he doesn't let it stop him from moving forward. Maybe I can learn to do the same. I start journaling. Nothing profound, just observations, moments from the day, things Rusty did that made me smile. The way he tilts his head when I talk to him, the absolutely ridiculous way he runs when excited, back legs trying to overtake his front legs. Small things, but writing them down makes them matter somehow, makes them real and worth remembering. I take pictures of him, it's hundreds probably. Rusty in morning light, Rusty sleeping, Rusty with his favorite toy. Each photo is evidence of something I'd forgotten. Beauty still exists. Joy still exists. Life still exists outside the nightmare I was trapped in. Slowly, so slowly, I barely notice until I look back. I start reconnecting with the world beyond these walls. A wave to a neighbor, small talk at the grocery store, responding to a text from a friend I'd been avoiding. Brief interactions that used to feel impossible now feel manageable with Rusty by my side. His calm presence giving me courage I don't quite have on my own. He helps me rebuild trust, not just in people but in myself, in my ability to care for something, to make good decisions, to be present and responsible and capable. Every time I feed him, walk him, play with him, I prove to myself that I'm not as broken as I believed, that something in me still works, still knows how to love and be loved. On a warm evening in late summer, we sit on the balcony together. The Charlotte skyline glows in the distance, the same view I used to love before everything fell apart. Rusty lies at my feet, chin resting on his paws, completely at peace. And I realize, with sudden clarity, that I'm at peace too, not healed completely, not free from all the damage, but present, grounded, connected to this moment and this place and this small, remarkable dog who found me when I needed him most. He's teaching me that healing isn't linear, that some days will be harder than others. That recovery isn't about erasing what happened, but learning to live alongside it, to move forward despite it, to choose life again and again, even when it's difficult. Rusty isn't just helping me survive. He's helping me feel like myself again, or maybe like a version of myself I haven't met yet. Someone stronger than I thought possible. Someone who can hold pain and joy simultaneously. Someone who can be broken and healing at the same time. The sun sets over Charlotte, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Rusty's breathing is slow and even. My hands resting on his back are steady. And for the first time in longer than I can remember, I feel something that isn't fear or shame or exhaustion. I feel hope. Early morning light filters through the kitchen window, soft and golden. The kind of light that makes everything feel gentler than it is. I sit on my small balcony with a cup of coffee, actually brewed, not instant, not cold, and Rusty curls at my feet, his body warm against my bare ankle. Charlotte wakes up around us. Traffic sounds build gradually. Somewhere nearby, a door closes. Life continues its relentless forward motion, and for once I'm not trying to hide from it. I've come so far from that day on the kitchen floor, surrounded by broken ceramic and broken hope. I'm not cured. I don't think that's how this works. Some days are still hard. Some mornings I wake up with that old tension in my chest. Some sounds still make me flinch. The damage doesn't just disappear because I want it to, but I'm here, present, grounded in this moment, in this quiet morning, in the simple pleasure of coffee and sunlight and a dog who chose me as surely as I chose him. I left a toxic job that was destroying me piece by piece. I survived emotional abuse that made me doubt my worth, my sanity, my right to take up space in the world. And I'm rebuilding from the inside out, slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. Rusty lifts his head to look at me, and our eyes meet in that same connection we found on my doorstep months ago. Silent understanding passes between us. He knows. Somehow he's always known. Thank you, I whispered to him, for finding me, for staying. His tail thumps once against the balcony floor. I think about the person I was before all of this. The woman who believed in her career, who trusted institutions, who thought hard work and dedication would be enough. She feels like someone I used to know a long time ago. I can't go back to being her, but maybe that's okay. Maybe the person I'm becoming, scarred but standing, wounded but healing, broken but rebuilding, is someone worth being. Rusty yawns, stretches, and settles back into sleep with the absolute confidence of a creature who knows he's exactly where he belongs. I run my fingers through his fur, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breathing, anchoring myself in the simple fact of his presence. The morning opens before us, full of possibility I'm only beginning to believe in again. Full of small moments that matter more than I ever understood they could. Full of healing that happens not in grand gestures, but in quiet mornings, gentle routines, and the persistent, patient love of a dog who refused to let me disappear. If this story touched you, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice helps this community grow. And if a dog has ever changed your life, feel free to share your story with us. I thought I was saving him, but he saved me.